Are you ready to evolve your life? Are you ready to see immense growth and manifestation in your life? Are you ready to evolve every aspect of your mind, body, and your soul? Well, you're tuned in to Evolved Mastery, and I'm your host, Princeton Clark, and it is my goal to assist you on your journey of self-mastery as you create greatly in every moment of your life. So join me in this episode of Evolved Mastery. Hey, what's going on, guys? Princeton Clark here, and you're tuned into another episode of Mastery 360 on the Evolved Mastery podcast. Today, I have my special guest with me, Scott Wolf, one of my good friends, man. And, you guys know Mastery 360 is all about sharing the stories of people who are mastering and evolving every aspect of their life. And they have stories that you guys can glean wisdom and knowledge from, because ultimately, we all share and grow together. But today, we're just going to go ahead and dive right into it. I want to welcome you, Scott. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Hey, man, I'm so glad that you decided to sit down with me. There's so many things that have been evolving in your life recently, and the past few years, life is constantly evolving. But I really want to just start, because you've been on a very, very powerful health and fitness journey.
Yeah.
And really just mastering your body, your mind, your soul. And, I want you to share a little bit, where did your journey begin?
Yeah. So really when the vision became clear, it was, I'm going to live my healthiest life. How I got to that conclusion was wild. So it was Labor Day weekend last year, so 2018, and just went through like a terrible food poisoning accident, and nothing will scare you more than waking up in a hospital bed having no idea how you got there. It's still, you can probably hear it in my voice a little bit. It's still tough to talk about. But that incident really just set me back mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, anything you can name. It was a setback. I couldn't hold down solid food for 10 days. I think I dropped like 20 pounds. I wouldn't even leave the house. I couldn't work. So it was probably like that for about a month straight, where it was just like this, for lack of better words, it was just a depression. And if you've ever been there, the one thing you're thinking is, how do I dig myself out?
Yeah.
So it was tough for a while. But so I had been working with a professional bodybuilder and a fitness coach prior to the accident. He had been doing my meal prep and my nutrition. And once I started to bounce back and start feeling better, I knew it was time to really set that goal of, all right, let's live my healthiest life. So I started training with him, kept doing the meal prep, and really just the original goal was, okay, let's get back to the point I was at before this accident, right? So within, I think, like 4 or 6 weeks, we had already gotten back to that point. And he looks at me one day, he says, all right, well, the goal was to get back to where you were. Now we're there. What's next? And I didn't really know at the time what I wanted to do with my health. I just still knew I wanted to live my healthiest life. So he introduced me to, it was the Dennis James Classic. He mentioned that the show was coming up in May. And he just said, he goes, with a couple small tweaks, I think you could really perform well. So we went hard for about, I think it was like maybe 8 weeks on that program. And yeah, we hit that Dennis James show, finished first in my class, second in open. My other teammates who competed, they all finished first or second. So yeah, that was probably like the best feeling so far with this health journey. Hands down.
Nice, man. And I don't have to tell any of you guys out there listening who understand anything about health and fitness and just dieting, the level of discipline that it takes to be able to do that. You definitely have to master your body, but more so master your mind, because the body's going to follow where the mind goes.
Yeah. No, I agree with that totally. So I think for me, when I set the vision in my mind and it just became so clear that I need to live my healthiest life, then you just say to yourself, by any means necessary, right? And so yeah, the diet is strict, the workouts are tough, but it's like we were talking about before we jumped on today, is so few people will make the sacrifice, but so few people will really reap the reward. And I'm 38 days out right now from my next show in San Diego. We're doing the muscle contest, and Man, I'm so excited just to smash that one. Like, basically what the first one did was kind of got my feet wet and just showed me what I needed to do to really be my best. And I think that's what, mastery is all about. How can I be my best? So I looked at what I did right. I looked at what I could improve on, and I've taken those things and, again, tweaked things a little bit. So the second time around, man, I'm excited to bring this package to the stage.
Man, I'm excited to see you, brother, man. Because, I just look at, I've known you for a while now, and just watching your transition from point A to point B, it's inspiring.
Thank you.
And when we talk about mastery, and we're talking about health and fitness today, and just the requirements that you have to meet within yourself in order to truly be successful in that health and fitness journey. I always refer to going to the gym or mastery like going to the gym. When you go to the gym, you might know how to use all the equipment in that gym. But if you don't understand your body and what your body needs, you go in and you waste a bunch of time and you wonder why you don't get results. Life is the same way.
It's 100%. Like, one thing we were talking about was how for so long I would do one but not the other. So I would eat right, but I wasn't working out hard enough. Or I would work out really hard, but I would drink alcohol on 5 out of 7 nights of the week. So, real talk, like, yeah, there's some sacrifices and some changes you have to make to start living that life. But I think once you start getting rid of some of those distractions, that's really the best thing to call them, is you really start to get that level of clarity for this is what I have to do to master this. And essentially you come to that realization of no one else is going to do it for you. Like,
that's right.
So like, yeah, I've got a great coach. I've got a great team. So like they put the plan together, but I have to follow it. I have to put in the work every day. So it's like someone could give you the keys to a Lambo, but if you don't know how to drive a stick, you can't go anywhere.
That's right.
So it doesn't matter. Like, without, you can have all the tools and resources, but if you don't have that motivation from within, you're never going to get from A to B.
That's right.
So
that's right. All you guys that are listening out in podcast world right now, really think about what's being said on these podcasts. You guys have heard me talk about dedication, consistency, putting in the effort in every single moment, realizing that every single moment is a new opportunity to grow. And when challenges come, when you decide to master your life, there's going to be challenges that you have to face, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. And if you're not preparing yourself to evolve, understanding that, as I always say, change is the only constant, you need to be prepared to evolve through change. And that means you can't wait until challenges come. You can't wait for new moments to come to say, oh, now I'm going to do it. You have to consistently be putting in the work. He didn't get to where he is now by saying, you know what, I'm going to do a show tomorrow. It's like, wait a minute.
I don't know anyone who's prepping that quick.
I know I couldn't do it. Even looking at you again, like, it's an inspiration to see you now. And just the pictures you were showing me this morning, it's like, wow. Like, you put on an extra 20 to 25 pounds, but again, it took work to do that. And it's inspiring to me because I love fitness, but since my car accident, like you have a few shoulder injuries or whatever. And it's like, man, like, it takes a level of really strong mental focus to finally just start doing it. And we'll eventually get back to it, but, like you said, having that, that accident and dealing with food poisoning and then having to regroup and deal with the depression, people don't realize, depression comes in so many different forms. And when you're 100%. So focused on moving forward, it sucks when you feel like you take 10 steps forward and you get knocked 20 steps back. And it's like, what the hell?
Yeah. So, for me, like, the biggest thing I realized during that depression was it's really only 3 ways I can ever be stronger, and whether that's mentally, physically, or emotionally. Like, what way am I going to have to be stronger to overcome what it is I'm going through? In the gym, sometimes I got to be physically stronger to get through this set. Sometimes I also got to be mentally stronger to just tell myself, there's only X amount of more weeks. You got to go this hard before you get to reap the benefits and the reward of everything you've sacrificed. But it's not easy, but that's the thing. 20% of people make 80% of the wealth. Well, there's a very specific reason why. Is because not everyone wants to put in the work. So, we're here today talking about the work, but behind the scenes, when we're not here, we're putting in
That's
the
right.
work, and that's what you got to do.
Definitely. You know, it's one thing that I really want to talk about is, you know, creating an action plan. You know, like you have a coach, you have someone
Yep.
there that's consistently there just pushing you. And a lot of you out there may be saying, you know, well, you know, where I am now, like I don't know what steps to take to get fit. I don't know what steps to take, you know, or what type of diet, you know, will fit my body. Where, well, there's people, there's resources. Heck, you can reach out to Scott. You know, I can even put his social media links and whatnot in the description, you know, and if he wants to share that at the end of the podcast, I'll give him space to do that as well. But you don't have an excuse not to do it. There's people out here like myself, like Scott, and many others who they're mastering these particular fields because we found a purpose into making other people's lives better.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was just sharing a story with you about a family I had seen, and earlier in June this year, I was over in Daytona Beach in Florida, and I was walking down the beach, and I had seen this family of 3, and they were all significantly overweight, and I just saw that, and it like breaks my heart because we made eye contact, and they're looking at me and judging me for how slim and skinny I am, but they don't know my struggle. Like they don't know. And I'm looking at them, and I got to be honest, I'm judging them too, but I don't know their struggle. But because of the kind of person I am, I'm thinking, I'm like, how can I help them? Like, and I know in the back of my mind, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning, go to the gym, work out. So it's like a part of me wants to walk over and say, hey, like, do you want to come work out with me tomorrow? Like, how can I help you? But then you have to start to think about like all the choices someone else has made in their life that has led them to this exact point where they're at now. So what really just kind of broke my heart in seeing them was thinking to myself how they're just watching life pass them by because they've made so many poor decisions with their health previously that their body is just a vessel for their soul. So really it's like they take their body from the couch to the beach and all they do is watch everything that happens around them with their head on a swivel because they can't really do anything else. And it's just, it's sad that so many people just don't realize like either you're going to focus on your health now or you're going to be focusing on it later.
Yeah, you'll be forced to focus on it.
At one point or another, you have to focus on your health, whether that be physical or mental. It's just, you got to do it. It's important.
And it definitely starts with, and we discussed this earlier, you know, it starts with the mind, you know, really getting focused because a lot of the times we'll let the doubt, you know, the self-judgment, all these negative emotions and feelings control us instead of realizing that, look, I might not like where I am right now, but all I have to do is take one step each day.
You don't have to stay the same. Like it literally, you're just always one choice away from a different life, right? And
That's
so for me, I mean, I've always been the kind of person who, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it 150%. I want to be the best at it. And that's just always been who I've been since I was even a little kid. But to this day, it's like if I'm going to put my time and energy into something, it's not going to be half-assed. It's all the way or nothing at all.
Yeah.
So you have to be all in on whether that's your fitness, your business, your relationship. If you're committed to something, you will always find the time to do whatever it is.
And the question that follows that is, how much are you willing to love yourself to step into your potential or the potential reality that you have the ability to create? For all of you out there who are listening to this, and you may be thinking, it's not that easy, you know, and we're not saying that it's easy. What we're saying is, if you truly love yourself enough to create change in your life, then you will choose to take the steps to be the change in your life. And until you do that, you're not really going to change your reality. You know, like you said, you're always one decision away from creating a new life. Every single decision you make in every single moment is creating the next moment. And what you experience in that next moment is a result of that decision. You know, and so when we're talking about your health and your fitness, you know, really focusing on maybe today, you know, maybe you would go to McDonald's or, you know, you would eat fast food. Maybe today, go to the grocery store, take that money, you know, and buy a salad, buy some chicken and fix it a different way. I guarantee you could actually benefit more from that and actually be more filled in your body than you would from that Big Mac or all the unhealthy food.
Well, it's 100% like people will just make excuses, and all those are reasons why you feel you can't do something. So maybe it's you don't know how. I mean, they're valid reasons, but what's stopping you? Like, what people don't want to do is be accountable and realize that you are going to be the biggest factor in your own success. Like, again, you can have a great coach, you can have a great team around you, and I do believe that surrounding yourself with the right people is super, super important.
Definitely.
But at the same time, it's like you are only as strong as the weakest link on that team. And if you're the weakest link on that team, then you ain't doing your part.
That's right. That's right. And so I want each one of you guys listening to this podcast to really get honest with yourself. Take a hard look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, do I love myself enough to make these changes? Do I love myself enough to realize that this is the only life that I have? And if I want to live a life that is healthy, I want to live a life that's whole, I have to start taking care of the areas of my life where I don't feel happy. I don't feel satisfied. I don't have peace within my being because I know that I'm not giving 110%. You have to be, when it comes to self-mastery, I always say it's the toughest journey you will ever take because it's you against you.
It always, and the thing is it never, ever stops. Like, every day you're putting in work, whether that's reading books, listening to podcasts, whatever it is. Like, if you're not constantly working on your mental health, your physical health, your career, your relationships, how do you expect any of those areas to actually succeed on their own? Things typically don't happen on their own. So unless you put that in motion, how do you think it's ever going to go forward?
Yeah. Another thing that I love about you, Scott, and we were discussing it briefly this morning, is not only do you take the same mental practices into your health and fitness, you take it into the work that you do as a luxury real estate agent. And how has that really assisted you in doing really well, in that area of your life?
I think what it really just comes down to is, like we talked about, like goal setting. And that's something I've always been big with, because if you don't have a goal in mind, then what is it you're moving the needle closer towards?
That's right.
So I think so many people just like wake up every morning and they're like, okay, I got to do this errand or that errand or run here, do that. But like, if your goal is to be a luxury real estate agent or a professional bodybuilder or have the best podcast, whatever the goal is, I mean, are you actually taking the micro steps along the way each day to move you closer towards that? And I think for me, real estate, man, it's been a crazy journey the last couple years that I got into it, but it's all been experience, right? Like it teaches you so much, not just about business, but about yourself as well. And that's one thing I'm super grateful for every day is I'm really learning more about myself every day, which is part of that self-mastery.
Definitely. It's crazy how, we were talking earlier too about this, how it's so easy to look at someone else's life or to look at different situations and, get so caught up in what other people are doing or how other people are doing it. And I love how you brought up the fact that just now saying, it's about the micro steps. Because a lot of times we'll get this image of what we want. And we can say, I want this, I want this, I want this. But consciously, we don't truly want it because we're not willing to take those little micro steps. Because when you say you believe that you truly want something, I always say this: belief is an action word. It's a consistent movement. It's an energy. When I believe that I'm going to be healthier, then I'm going to be activated to respond in a healthier manner in my life. If I believe I want to be successful, or I have the potential to be successful, then I'm going to take all those little steps to be successful, because you can't just take one big steps because you miss so many different lessons.
Well, and that's it right there. So like typically what I like to do is I write down quarterly, like what are my priorities? Like what's important to me? And ironically, it's like the same things every time. There's a handful of my friends who are at the top of that list, my family, obviously, my career. But really like for me, my main thing is just to be happy, healthy, and successful. Those are the only three things I strive for. And what I notice is the harder I work on those three things, everything else just falls into place so easy. So I don't want to sit here and say, oh, it's easy, because it's not by any means. I mean, I wake up at 6:30 every day. I grind for 10 to 14 hours. I work out for another 2.5 hours. I mean, I go from the time nonstop, from the time I wake up to the time my head hits the pillow. But I have faith in everything that it is I'm doing during those hours that it makes enjoying the process so easy.
Yeah. And in doing it that way and realizing that you are the power creating this reality, you enter it from a state of gratitude. So instead of it being something that you're grudgingly doing, saying, oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to do that. It becomes I get to do this. I get to wake up every single day and do what I love.
It used to be, and I'm happy you said that exact thing, because I used to have that wrong mindset where I'm like, ugh, why is this happening to me? Why do I have to do this? Or now it's thank you for showing me like this is happening to me for a very specific reason, so I can learn from it and it can become experience. Or, I get to instead of I have to. And those are such like big mental game changers that it's like every day I go into the gym. To be quite honest, no, I'm not 150% motivated for a 2-hour plus workout. But I tell myself, you know what? There was a point in time where you were so unhealthy, you couldn't even get off the couch and leave the house. Now you get to work out. Enjoy it.
I love that, man. Even you saying that, I get chills, man, hearing people's victory over themselves.
Yeah.
You know, saying, man, like, I get to live. Ultimately is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I get to wake up today and I get to live my life. I get to choose what I am going to experience, or in some cases, how I choose to respond to these different experiences. And this creates my life. I get to do that.
So like the biggest thing too is that I always tell people is if you look around at whatever it is you're trying to do, whether it's you want to grow a podcast, you want to be successful in bodybuilding, luxury real estate, whatever, look at the people who are succeeding in those areas because it's not as if they've invented the wheel. They just found a way to make it spin a little faster for them. So it's surrounding yourself with those people who can help you achieve what it is you're trying to do, because chances are you're not the first and you won't be the last.
That's right.
So it's just, how do I do it better than someone before me? And that's really all I ever try to look and do, whether that's in real estate or fitness.
And I think it's huge what you're saying as far as, not just looking out and finding those people who are doing those things, but again, going back to what I said earlier, realizing that there are people there that can assist you on your journey. You're not meant to do this alone. Nobody on this planet is meant to be alone. And you see so many people struggling with depression because of different things that they're facing, whether it's not achieving their goals, not achieving their ideal body, not achieving, the ultimate reality that they want to create. And they let it pull them into this dark place, not realizing that it's like, man, like, you're not alone. And I know sometimes it can feel like you're alone on your journey, but again, I'm going to keep reiterating this, and we're going to keep reiterating this. You're not alone. You just have to take that first step and reach out to people. Get on YouTube. Like, if you have a smartphone in your hand, or you have access to internet, you have the ability to tune into other people who are doing what you want to do. And it simply takes applying yourself, applying some of the tools. Now, you may not use everything that they do, but take those tools and put them to work in your life because you get to.
Yeah, I think like mental health is something that people don't talk about enough these days. And I mean, that really comes back to mastering yourself, because I talk to myself more than I talk to anybody else. Right?
I know that feeling, yes.
And whether it's I'm putting together a plan, I'm coaching myself up, I'm just thinking whatever it is I'm thinking about. You control your thoughts. And sometimes when you have circumstances that are, piling down on you or raining down, it feels like, how do I dig myself out of this hole? But the one thing you have to remind yourself of is someone else somewhere has the same circumstances, maybe even more challenging. So if they were able to get it from, being stuck in this hole to the other side, you can too. It's just a matter of, you have to really want to, and I think that's the biggest thing that people struggle with, is just realizing that, like, only I can change my outcome. You can't rely on anyone else other than yourself. You just have to take it into your own hands.
And another thing too, you have a beautiful relationship now, and really you realigning yourself with your highest potential, your higher aspirations, and what truly makes you happy, that's translated over into your relationships as well. Because I find that a lot of the times when people are unhappy and they're in relationships, it'll destroy those relationships. And it could have potentially been a great relationship, but because they weren't completely in alignment with themselves, either they attracted the wrong person,
sure,
and they learned the lesson behind that.
Gotta learn a lesson.
But truly, this all applies to everything you do: your work, your business, your relationships, your health. Your state of being is dictating to your life what you attract in your life. How has really aligning with your true potential, your purpose, and your passion for what you truly want in your life, how has that affected even your relationships?
Yeah, I mean, some people just aren't going to understand your journey. I mean, that's just fact. Like, I can't tell you, especially on my fitness journey, how many people have said, oh my God, you're not going to eat this, or oh my God, you're not going to drink that, or whatever it is. But that's the thing is, just because someone else doesn't see your purpose or see your journey doesn't mean you should deviate from it. Yeah. And I think so many people in society today are so fixated on, what does this person think of me? Or I need to be doing this because that's what the masses are doing. And the problem becomes is that everyone just gets so inundated with what everyone else thinks about them. They forget that, like, what's important to me. So, like, for example, I'm just going to use this as a stupid example. Never owned a pair of Yeezys. Never owned a pair of Yeezys.
Me either.
But the point is, I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. Cool, great shoes. But just because everyone else was doing it doesn't mean that I had to go run out and spend $600 on a pair of sneakers. They're probably just as comfortable as the ones I got for $100.
Yeah.
Like, and it goes back to that quote where, like, what is it? It's everyone spending money on things they can't afford to impress people that don't even like them.
Yeah.
And that becomes detrimental to your self-mastery because you're now so fixated on, I have to be here, I have to be seen doing this, or I have to be whatever it is, so that you're part of this pop culture, pop society. But what people don't realize is you're actually hurting yourself more than you're helping yourself.
Definitely. Each one of you guys out there, I always say, you're a unique blueprint. There will never be another you, and you are the most powerful, most beautiful thing in your life. And a lot of the times when you give up your uniqueness by focusing on other people, what other people are doing, you lose yourself. Depression is a sign that you've lost yourself in some idea, some perspective, or some mental program that's limiting your ability to respond because you've allowed yourself to become a prisoner to that thought. And this affects how you relate to the world, how you relate to people, how you respond in every single moment of your life. But if you want to truly evolve out of the situation that you're in right now, and you want to make healthier choices, and you want to be more powerful in your relationships, in your businesses, or just in your life in general, then you have to be willing to take a step back and say, wait a minute, I am too special to be a copy. I am too special. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter what anybody else feels about my life, because if everybody disappeared right now, I would still have to make the choice to live a better life. I would still have to make a choice to create a life that's conducive to what makes me happy, what makes me feel whole. And again, I keep saying this, Scott, I have so much admiration and respect for you, man, because it takes a strong person to take strong steps.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I wasn't born this way, right? And that's what I talk about a lot of times too is, I mean, product of my environment, sure, a little bit, but also just recognizing, what do you want out of life and how do I get it? It's not rocket science by any means. We're not curing cancer. We're just trying to figure out how to be happy, healthy, and successful. And I think that's really the only three things any person needs to focus on. If you do those three things, everything in your life is going to get better.
And that's applying that thought to everything in your life, because I know a lot of times when people say happy, healthy, and successful, they only think about the surface. They don't think about the inner aspect.
And I can say it firsthand, like, don't get me wrong, and I say this all the time, I like nice shit. I love nice shit. But I also realize that nice shit doesn't bring me happiness. I mean, the more expensive my car, the more it costs me to fix, and the more problems I was having. So it's just like, what's the saying? It's new levels, new devils, right?
That's right.
And now I totally get what that means. So it's like people probably sit back and when they hear me talk, they go, oh, well, this dude's killed it in real estate. He's got money. He's fine, whatever. But money wasn't actually what brought me to this point. Money was actually what had set me back.
Yeah.
It's funny, like when you realize that money really doesn't buy happiness, there's so many intangibles that money can't buy. That's what true happiness really is. So like, I mean, for me, one of the happiest moments I share, no matter what, is when I get to FaceTime with my 4-year-old niece. Mm-hmm. Money can't buy that.
Yeah.
So
life is about experiences, man. It's all about what you make it. What do you want to experience? You know, and to truly find happiness and success in your life, you have to create experiences in your life for that. And in all honesty, things are happening all around us every single day that we can choose to experience or not to experience.
That's a great point. And one of the things, I mean, I know I'm guilty of that I really had to take a good hard look in the mirror and realize was that, are you living in the present? And I think that sometimes we get so caught up in our plan, because I talked about a plan a lot, and I'm guilty of it, where I get so caught up in a plan that I start missing living in the present, and that sets you back too, when you're not actually grateful for or appreciating all the things you have in front of you right now, because you're so focused on what's next.
Yeah. And that's huge. That's so huge. We do miss it because people get caught in the past, what's not happening, what has happened, and how that's affecting what's happening right now, what's not happening, or what may happen in the future if they take this step. What if they're not successful? And it's like, just slow down, breathe.
Yeah.
You know, and take in this moment right now and really take time. I always say, practice your gratitude statements. You know, when you wake up in the morning, instead of immediately picking up your phone or going and turning on the TV, lay there for a second and just say, I'm grateful for my body. I'm grateful for the breath of my life. I'm grateful that I woke up today. I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. Whatever is happening in your life that you have, that someone else doesn't have, because there's always somebody out there who wishes they had what you had, you know? And so I always try to keep myself in that perspective in every single moment. Like, sure, things may be things may get challenging at times, but at the end of the day, I'm here.
Yeah, I think, like, for me, I think people look at my Instagram or my social media and they probably are like, wow, like, I wish I had that life. But, you know, people also won't take into account what it's taken behind the scenes to get that quality of life. And so oftentimes it's like, you know, when you put in the hours when no one's watching, that's when you truly earn and reap the rewards.
Yeah. Yeah, people are all caught up in this instant gratification.
Doesn't exist. There's no such thing. I heard an analogy the other day. I've been listening to a lot of pastor over at Impact Church. Shout out to Travis Hearn. If you haven't heard him, definitely check out their YouTube channel. He's amazing. But one of the analogies he gave the other day during one of his sermons was he was talking about how if a farmer plants a crop, he doesn't just plant his seed and then just, all right, that's it, work's done, hopefully it grows. No, he continues to put in work while he hopes and he has faith that his crops will harvest.
That's right.
And the reason why I like that analogy is because so many people are going to be like, okay, well, for example, I got my real estate license. Well, now I should be on $1 Million Listing, or I should be doing these huge deals. That's not how it works. Like, people don't realize that it takes time to get from A to B. And even when you think you've put in the work to reap the rewards, there's pretty much only 3 answers you're going to get. It's yes, no, or not yet.
Yes,
and
I like that.
For me, like, I've never taken no for an answer. So if I get an answer and it's not yes, that just means not yet. So what are you going to do? You going to give up? No, you got to keep going. You got to keep the faith alive, keep putting in the work to get the result you desire.
I actually mentioned this in one of my last podcasts because, you know, when we talk about faith, a lot of times people will say, I have faith, I have faith, I have faith, but they confuse faith with hope. I hope that this is going to happen, but faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So I am hoping while I am faithing. Faith is an action word. I am hoping that this is going to happen. But because I know I am the creative power behind my life, you know, and every decision that I make, I am creating every single moment. I am faithing it into action, taking those little steps. You know, we talk about, you know, sowing the seeds. We don't just sow the seeds in what we work outside of us. We sow the seeds in the way that we think. We sow the seeds in the way that we choose to feel. We sow the seeds in so many different aspects of our being. Yeah. And again, going back to mindset, you have to really start sowing positive seeds of positive thoughts into your life. And one thing that can help you do that, create a vision board. What is it that you want for your life? Something that you can see every single day. Something that you can literally look at and say, I am successful. I am wealthy. I am happy. I am whole. I am healthy. And you look at that every single day. Become the I am of what you desire to create.
So, like, quick example, you know, hope is, I hope I win my next show. But faith is doing the work every day, knowing that that's what I got to do to win the next show. Yeah. And so for me, it's like, I've already looked at both sides of what'll happen November 2nd. It's either I get the result I think I've worked for and I deserve, and if I don't, that's okay too, because now I know what I need to improve on, and I just got to go back to the drawing board, put in more work, and come back, because the goal... Sometimes the goal changes, sometimes the goal stays the same, but it's the plan that always has to be in constant motion, because you got to just continuously reevaluate, is what I'm doing working? If you can't self-reflect like that, you will never, ever master yourself.
Because that's the first step of facing yourself. If you're facing a reality right now and you're not really creating what you have the potential to create, you know, you have to ask yourself, you know, is what I'm doing right now working? Is it making me happy? And if the answer is no, then you got to look at yourself and ask the question, what can I do right now to change it? What can I start doing right now to manifest something new?
Yeah, I mean, I think that right there is exactly it. You got to say, what can I do? What can I do? And again, having a mentor who's going to say, hey, I'm where you want to be. Let me walk you through the steps. Yeah, that helps tremendously. Get a mentor, get a coach, surround yourself with the right people. But also acknowledge that if you're not in the mindset where you're prepared to do what you have to do, then it doesn't matter if you have the best coaches or mentors or networks, because it still all comes back to your will, your drive, your motivation to succeed.
Totally. Man, I could talk to you forever, man. You know, but I know you have a busy schedule and you have things you want to work on. You got to get to the gym. You just finished this meal before we started.
Got to get my pump in today.
But man, listen, I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
You know, and we'll definitely have to get you back on again after your show. We got to get an update on what happens and what you learned from it.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be coming back with some hardware. But if not, honestly, I mean, this has been a crazy journey, a good journey, something that I would never replace for anything else. I've learned so much about myself, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I mean, there's no greater way to push yourself and see how hard you can really go until you actually keep pushing.
And you know, that's powerful, because I always say, you know, failure is not an option. I don't believe in failure, because I believe failure is what happens when you stop. So
you only fail when you stop, when you quit. That's when you lose.
Even if you take a step forward and you fall, and you guys on podcast land have heard me say this several times, if you take a step forward and you fall, when you stand back up, you're still further ahead than if you had never taken that step. You know, and so again, it's not going to always be easy. You know, nothing in this life was guaranteed to be easy from day one. We came into a world that's so distracted by the surface, so distracted by ego and, you know, all these different perspectives that divide us, you know, and at the end of the day, it's about me taking the steps every single day to be the best person, the best human I can be, you know, and taking the steps in my own life, regardless of circumstances, regardless of other people, you know, and saying, I love myself too much to just be what society says I should be, or to just be what my family says I should be, or what my friends say I should be. I want to evolve. I want to master my life. One of my favorite quotes is, you know, or it talks about, you know, practicing a kick. I can't remember it, so I'm not going to misquote it. But in the quote, it talks about how you can either master 1,000 kicks or, you can master one kick 1,000 times. The more active you become in mastering your life, stop focusing on all these different things you need to do. Focus on the one thing that you can do right now, because when you focus on multiple things at one time, what happens is you put energy into too many things. You exasperate yourself. You're exhausted, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So take the focus of your spirit, your mind, your body, every aspect of your being, and put it in this moment right now. Really think about what it is you want to achieve, what it is you want to manifest in your life, and then infuse it with the power of each moment. Infuse it with gratitude. Infuse it with positive I am statements, and push yourself in every single moment of your life, because you are the artist of your masterpiece, and you decide what that masterpiece will be. Listen, guys, I appreciate you for tuning into this segment of Mastery 360 on the Evolve Mastery podcast. And again, Scott, I appreciate you for being on here with me.
Thank you for having me.
But, hey, you guys know how to reach me. And if you want to reach out to Scott, how can they reach you on social media?
Yeah, so on social media, you can find me Instagram. It's at Scott M. Wolf. Facebook as well, Scott M. Wolf. So I'm out there.
All right, guys. And I'll include his links in the description for this podcast. If you want to reach out to him, give him a shout out, let him know what you thought. If you have questions, maybe you just need a little inspiration from his end, man, reach out, because you have him as a resource now. And that's why we do this podcast. But again, if you want to contact me, you can go to www.evolvedmastery.com. That's www.evolvedmastery.com. Or you can find me on all social media platforms at Evolved Mastery. Guys, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm sending you positive vibes. And I'm just encouraging you guys, continue to be the masters of your life, because it is the most valuable gift that you will ever give yourself. Peace.